Hey everybody, it's Party Elite here with another episode of Total Breakdown from the Warhammer Fantasy League. This time we're going to see the High Elves of Aristodemos II take on the Lizardmen of Manbreed Megaskill. We begin, of course, with talk of composition and deployment, and the Lizardmen have made some curious decisions on the field today. Let's start with the High Elves, though. Teclis is in charge atop his horse. The front line consists of a pair of white lines of Schrace, and on either flank we have the Spearmen. Right behind them, we've got a unit of Lothern Seaguard on either flank and a pair of them in the middle over here, leaving these very nice gaps, actually, for the Phoenix Guard at the back over here. These guys are anti-large and armor-piercing, so they might be needed in the front lines against the Lizardmen, so making sure they can move through unobstructed. While back here, these Dragon Princes will look to either charge through those front lines as well, or push in for some flanking opportunities and rear charges should the opportunities present themselves. Up front, meanwhile, a pair of Eagleclaw Bolt Thrower units are looking to get some damage done right away as well, deployed up front to make sure they're maximizing their range. On the other side of the field, the Lizardmen are being led by a Slann Mage Priest of High Magic. The front line here consists of an alternating line of Saurus Warriors with shields and Skink cohorts, while right behind them we have a unit of Kroxigor over here, able to dive through with their anti-infantry and armor-piercing capabilities and do a lot of work, while we also have this Temple Guard unit back here alongside two units of Cold One Spear Riders who are all anti-large and armor-piercing. Up front, two units of Chameleon Skinks able to creep forward and get a little bit of damage done in skirmish mode, while back here we have a Skink Chief and this unit of Pterodon Riders that you can see are already being shot at by the Eagleclaw Bolt Thrower in anti-large mode, and that is not a bad idea. The Pterodon Riders can cause a fair bit of damage in range, and they can also dive in to interrupt range support from those Lothern Seaguard or potentially the Eagleclaw Bolt Throwers as well, so might as well try and take care of those guys nice and early. At the same time, you can see the Lizardmen are creeping forward. They have to move out of the trees, but using the trees for cover as they try to close the gaps, not a bad idea whatsoever, and the Eagleclaw Bolt Throwers actually switch to the anti-infantry mode and fire away at some of these Saurus Warriors with shields, and that's a great call. These guys have shields, so as they close the gaps towards the front lines, they will be protected from any arrows from the Lothern Seaguard, so might as well take advantage of this opportunity here, fire away, and actually doing a fair bit of damage both to health and to morale, while you can see the units have actually pivoted themselves and are now ready for this frontline engagement to take place over here. They want as much open space as possible to use their arrows and artillery pieces to maximum efficiency. At the same time, you can see back here Apotheosis going in rather early, maybe a little premature, but it will heal up all of these individuals to maximum health, despite them currently even being under Eagleclaw Bolt Thrower fire. Over here, these Chameleon Skinks as well, getting adventurous, finally pushing forward, hoping to get some early damage in. Just before lines meet, they want to try and get some hurt done potentially to these white lines of Schrace, as they are a somewhat threatening unit until the Kroxigor get involved, but you can see the Lothern Seaguard respond, opening shots into these Chameleon Skinks, and the Chameleon Skinks decide they do need to pull back. It is not a safe situation for them to be in. They will be outnumbered as far as arrows are concerned, so they will be completely demolished. A couple more shots go in, and then the Lothern Seaguard change their focus instead on some of these frontline units, while the two units of Eagleclaw Bolt Throwers are focusing instead now on the Slann Mage Priest of High Magic, and that is a great call. The Slann Mage Priest is, of course, a large commander. There's a joke in there somewhere. And so using the anti-large capabilities of the Eagleclaw Bolt Throwers, firing in to the Slann Mage Priest, who has a little bit of armor, so the armor-piercing shots will also, cut right through that. It's not a bad call at all. You want to try and reduce Lizardman leadership as quickly as possible, of course. At the same time, you can see some of these Lothern Seaguards still firing away at some of these Chameleon Skinks there, just trying to keep those skirmishers away. They can be quite the pest. While over here as well, you can see these white lines of Schrace just pulling back ever so slightly, I think trying to buy some time here, and a most unfortunate situation over here. Nicely done by the Lizardmen, finding a glorious spot, popping Banishment right on the Lothern Seaguard, and unfortunately, the High Elves did nothing to respond, so the Lothern Seaguard over here eat that Banishment right away, and they take a lot of hurt, dropping to 50% health immediately, and of course that is going to do a lot of work to morale as well, so those guys are not having a good time whatsoever. You can see at the same time the Kroxigor just dive through the front lines over there to the right and to the left as well, showing these Spearmen who the boss is. Of course, the Spearmen are anti-large, but the Kroxigor coming in alongside the Skink cohort is a terrible spot for them. The Dragon Princes, meanwhile, turn around and try to charge into these Saurus Warriors with shields, hoping to get the upper hand on that far left flank, while in the center right over here, you can see these white lines of Schrace are being absolutely demolished by the Kroxigor. Of course, the Kroxigor and the Skink cohort, once again, a nice combination over here. They're going to come out on top, while back here, the Dragon Princes again get that nice charge in, while in the center, you can actually see these white lines of Schrace are actually getting a lot of damage through the Blood Statuette of Spite, and they are dropping in health and in morale, so a terrible situation for the White Lines of Schrace. In response, the Slann Mage Priest is also hit by the net of a Mintok, just so it's stuck in place and eating a lot of shots from all of these Lothern Seaguard, as well as the Eagleclaw Bolt Thrower. You can see all of the focus fire there, just trying to eliminate leadership, and that is not a bad call whatsoever. At the same time, you can see the front lines are absolutely being demolished here to the left. Those spears had to fall back away from the Kroxigor as the Phoenix Guard decide to dive in and provide some support, so now the Kroxigor are in a bit bit of a trouble spot, while over here you can see the Dragon Princes as well, pulling back from all of that Chameleon Skink fire, as well as the Cold One Spear Riders, who again are anti-large and armor-piercing. The white lines of Trace in the front center give up completely, and that is a terrible situation for these Lothern Seaguard. Despite their anti-large capabilities, these Kroxigor are going to do a lot of work to them, of course, and you can see that Slann Mage Priest is using Cold-Blooded now to bring back some hit points, and this is the perfect time to do it. He is not in melee, his speed is irrelevant right now, so just replenish some of those hit points. Wonderfully done there, and at the same time you can see over here, Teclis is trying to pull back into safety while the Skink Chief is pulling in to get some work done as well. The Lothern Seaguard just trying to take care of the Slann Mage Priest as quickly as possible. Teclis finds himself in a precarious situation in the left flank as well, now completely giving up. The Spearmen here do not stand a chance. The Phoenix Guard still holding the line, while over here the Kroxigor dive into the Lothern Seaguard. Now, don't get me wrong, the Lothern Seaguard will hold the line. They have a melee defense of 44 when Martial Prowess is active, and the Kroxigor, they have a melee attack of 26. Their melee defense is also 26, but they have the anti-infantry buff. They have armor-piercing capabilities, so the Lothern Seaguard will hold the line, but they will take a beating while doing it. Nicely done, though. Keeping the Lothern Seaguard engaged is helping make sure that the Kroxigor are stuck in melee, so not the worst situation for the High Elves overall, but you can see up front over here the Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers are completely giving up on the fight. Of course, they are not built for melee whatsoever, so they are giving up, and the Phoenix Guard here just trying to hold the line, but ultimately needing to fall back as well. I think they're not going to do so well. They're outnumbered and surrounded. Meanwhile, in the center over here, you can see we have some more magic coming in, this time from Teclis, popping the Net of a Mintok, trying to buy some time for these units to pull back into safety, while the Skink Chief is just firing away, popping shots off at Teclis, who's using the Potion of Chiroi to try and avoid some of that damage and replenish some of his hit points at the same time. You can see some of these Lothern Seaguard are giving up on the fight, while over here the Kroxigor are actually rampaging, stuck in combat over here, and as a result the Lothern Seaguard are actually in a tight spot. They're wavering right now, and again, even though their melee defense is high and they're able to tie these guys down, they are taking a severe beating, and there's the route over there, while in the center over here you can see the Cold One Spear Riders are trying to close the gap into Teclis. Again, anti-large armor-piercing Teclis is going to have a terrible time if they're able to close the gap, while all the way to the left over here you can see these Dragon Princes now hit by the Blood Statuette of Spite, and that can do a lot of work. These Dragon Princes have not done enough. They are falling apart now. That use of that statuette does a lot of work, health dropping, morale dropping, and the Cold One Spear Riders, though they haven't done all that much either, they are looking to come out on top in that current engagement because of that support that the Cold One Spear Riders were getting. Over here in the center, though, you can see Teclis is still in a terrible situation, less than 50% health. His morale is extremely low as well, while up front, some of these Kroxigor are rampaging, so they are losing control. We also have these Saurus Warriors in the middle here rampaging. The Phoenix Guard are trying to take care of the Pterodon Riders, who decided to get involved in melee. A bit of a bad call over there. And back here as well, Teclis is in a terrible situation, but in comes the Dragon Prince unit, trying to provide some protection over here, but take a look at this again. A beautiful call here. Well done by the Lizardmen. In comes another banishment right in the heart of the Lothern Seaguard over here. I believe there are some white lines of Trace in here as well. We also have the Dragon Princes, so a lot of damage to be done over here. Beautifully spotted, beautifully done by that Slann Mage Priest. These guys are going to fall apart, as you can see, taking a ton of damage. The Dragon Princes as well, just dropping in health, dropping in morale, and that is a key unit giving up on the fight right there. Unfortunately, losing some of those Cold One Spear Riders as well, but overall, in terms of bang for your buck, the Lizardmen have certainly come out on top. At the same time, you can see Teclis here still trying to keep himself alive, using the Potion of Troy, replenishing some of those hit points and keeping his damage resistance up as well, but you can see the front lines have now completely, well, they're non-existent. The Spearmen over here trying to hold the line, but they are falling apart. The Cold One Spear Riders in a bit of a tough engagement over here. Of course, the Spearmen are anti-large, so they should have pulled back, while the Saurus Warriors with shields took care of the Spearmen. Up front over here, you can see the Phoenix Guard, though, doing really well, holding the line against the Slann Mage Priest and the Kroxigor. Of course, they are built for that situation, while over here, the Lothern Seaguard that have rallied are now firing away at some of these Pterodon Riders, hoping to eliminate that airborne support. Meanwhile, over here, you can see we do have the Blood Statuette of Spite coming in once again, doing a lot of work to these Phoenix Guard. They do have that damage resistance, but the Blood Statuette, if I'm not mistaken, will ignore that. In come the Kroxigor as well. Again, they're not going to have a good time, the Kroxigor, as the Phoenix Guard are anti-large. Back here, the Chameleon Skinks as well, providing support, bringing in some of that poison damage wherever they can, just to cause a little bit of attribute damage where possible. The Skink Chief also persistent in his chase against Teclis, hoping to take care of High Elf leadership now and just eliminate Teclis and drop morale significantly as the Lothern Seaguard continue to fire away at the Pterodon Riders. And the Pterodon Riders could have pulled back and provided some support from the air into the Phoenix Guard, perhaps, you know, just popping some shots again, as I was mentioning earlier, but unfortunately deciding to stay within range of the Lothern Seaguard instead, while over here as well, you can see the Temple Guards just dealing with the Lothern Sea Guard right now. They could push in and chase after Teclis, which would be the ideal move, as they are, again, anti-large and armor-piercing, but ultimately deciding to stay here against the Lothern Sea Guard. Not the best call. They could have eliminated Teclis right here and right now, while over here you can see the Kroxigor are giving up on the fight. We also have a Shatter over here for the Skink cohort, as the Lothern Sea Guard over here have rallied and are now firing away. And once more, that Slann Mage Priest is in a tight spot. He has capped off his regeneration, and he is currently under fire, so he needs to be very careful with leadership right now. And Teclis is actually able to get away as the Phoenix Guard tie down the Skink Chief as well as these Cold One Spear Riders. The Pterodon Riders have taken to the air, and they have actually routed it, and so they are all the way back there. All that Lothern Sea Guard fire has taken care of those Pterodon Riders. The Phoenix Guard, you can see, are now coming out on top. This is an ideal situation for them. They have another Phoenix Guard unit coming in to provide some support as well, and take a look at this. In comes regrowth on the Phoenix Guard, replenishing hit points, but significantly increasing their physical resistance as well. Unfortunately, the other Phoenix Guard unit gets the Blood Statuette of Spite put on them, so they're going to start falling apart very quickly. Teclis back here as well is dealing with the Skink Chief, but the Skink Chief is dealing with a lot of ranged fire coming in from the Lothern Sea Guard. Ultimately, the Lothern Sea Guard, though, turn around and decide to focus in on the Slann Mage Priest of High Magic. Again, good call, try to take care of leadership, but Teclis needs to get out of this situation. Pops the Potion of Troy yet again and tries to make some distance over here and bait the Skink Chief, I think, into the Phoenix Guard. That is a great call. The Skink Chief is, of course, large. There are 2 units of Phoenix Guard over here, so the Skink Chief is going to put itself in a terrible situation if it continues to chase after Teclis. Teclis, though, is extremely low on health and morale. You can see he's taking quite the beating over here. Very low on health. Morale is dropping. He's very close to routing, very close to dying as well, and the Skink Chief has done well to sort of stay, again, persistent once more, but ultimately Teclis is able to get out of that situation, and I think the Skink Chief there was trying to pop Cold-Blooded on himself, but for some reason it did not go off, and the Lothern Sea Guard now continue to focus in on Lizardmen leadership. Again, if leadership drops, that is a huge blow to morale, and that will help the High Elves come out on top. Lothern Sea Guard here as well now need to push into melee. They are out of ammunition, so well done. They're keeping them alive for long enough to use up all their ammo, and these Chameleon Skinks are stuck in melee as well because they're out of ammunition too. At the same time, we've got a little bit of magical support coming in. We also have the Slann Mage Priest pushing through, but you can see there are units dropping left, right, and center. We have the Aura of Quetzal going down on these Chameleon Skinks, trying to keep these guys alive for long enough against the Lothern Sea Guard. The Slann Mage Priest getting involved in melee as well, tossing some of these Lothern Sea Guard around while all of that range fire is coming in into his back, hoping to take care of leadership, as I was mentioning earlier as well. The Phoenix Guard over here doing absolutely wonderful against some of these Source Warriors with shields, while over here the Lothern Sea Guard sort of wavering between doing well and not doing so well. That range fire is coming in to provide some serious support against that Slann Mage Priest, and the Slann Mage Priest decides to pull back, and it's not a terrible idea. The Lothern Sea Guard ultimately are anti-large, of course, and with all that range support coming in as well, the Slann Mage Priest is in a tight spot, and the Source Warriors actually give up on the fight as well. The Phoenix Guard are absolutely godly in this battle. 161 kills on this unit over here. They're doing wonderful work. The Chameleon Skinks, meanwhile, turn around and give chase to this unit of Lothern Sea Guard that has been sitting back there and just constantly harassing the remaining units of the Lizardmen. Over here, the Skink Chief as well has returned to the fight, and from up in the air, firing away at Teclis. And that's a good call. You have that airborne capability, you have that range capability, might as well take advantage of it. So firing away, while the Pterodon Riders, who have also returned to the fight, are now trying to dive in on the Lothern Sea Guard as well. Would have been a good idea to get a nice rear charge to eliminate them quicker, but the sheer force of these 2 charges coming in at the same time put the Lothern Sea Guard in a bit of a tight spot, and they slowly begin to give up on the fight. They are wavering. In just a moment's time, they'll start wavering. They have been hit by poison, of course, from the Chameleon Skinks, so they're not going to want to stick around and fight. While over here, you can see Teclis again in a terrible spot with just 180 or so hit points left. He uses the Potion of Troy to bring his health back up and gets this last hurrah in, charges into some of these Source Warriors with shields, hoping to get these guys to rout, and managing to do that. So excellent, bold move by Teclis there, and it actually pays off. But the Skink Chief and the Pterodon Riders now focusing in on Teclis. It's a bit of a tight spot. The Chameleon Skinks come in as well, trying to hold this guy in place, ultimately getting him to rout and give up on the fight, but the Phoenix Guard are able to pile in right afterwards. Teclis does drop, so a huge hit to morale for the High Elves over here, but wonderful last move there, getting these guys to rout, causing a fair bit of damage in the Phoenix Guard now, again, just giving chase, hoping to do a lot of work here and eliminate a couple more units, maybe instigate a mass rout. The Lothern Sea Guard, without ammunition, aren't able to fire away at the Pterodon Riders over here, nor are they able to fire away at the Skink Chief back here, so they need to close the gap to something. Right now, they're just standing there, not doing anything, which is an unfortunate situation, but you can see over here the Phoenix Guard moving alongside them, so trying to get these guys maybe to reform together a little bit, secure their flanks, but they need to push in. They need to be a little bit more aggressive over here. You can see otherwise some magic is going to be used. I think there was another attempt at using Cold-Blooded over there, but canceled, or it bugged out or something. Not sure what happened there. The Skink Chief continues to give chase and open fire wherever possible, while the Phoenix Guard up front over here charge into these Source Warriors with shields, and a reverse charge as well from the Chameleon Skinks, as well as the Source Warriors with shields. The Phoenix Guard will come out on top. They can hold that line, but you can see the sheer number of units coming in, pouring in from multiple directions. That will be a bad time for the Phoenix Guard, of course, if everything comes together. At the same time, the Lothern Sea Guard intercepting these Chameleon Skinks over here, but in comes the Aura of Quetzal from the Slann Mage Priest of High Magic, and that is going to help these guys out significantly. You can see a shatter over there as the Saurus Warriors give up on the fight. These Chameleon Skinks, despite the buffed melee defense and buffed armor, are slowly going to start giving up on the fight, but in come this unit of Temple Guards as well, trying to provide some support against the Phoenix Guards. They get a side charge in there, so the Phoenix Guard are going to take a touch of morale damage from that, and ultimately with the poison in there, as well as the damage coming in from the Temple Guards, the Phoenix Guard are probably going to give up on the fight. First to fall, though, the Lothern Sea Guard, they give up, and the Chameleon Skinks now are able to turn around and just pile in on the Phoenix Guard. We've got range fire coming in from the Skink Chief. We've got that Slann Mage Priest over there giving chase to the Lothern Sea Guard, and we've got these Phoenix Guard as well, fully surrounded in a very, very tight spot off in the distance as well. You can see all of these shattered units. This Phoenix Guard unit still willing to fight, trying to make its way towards this central clump over here, but they are, well, they only have 2 leadership left. They're very low on health as well. The Skink Chief ultimately decides to dive into melee over here as well. A bit of a risky call, but in comes the Slann Mage Priest as well, just trying to finish these guys off, sort of lead from the front as it were, doing a lot of work. In come the Pterodon Riders as well. The Phoenix Guard are going to fight to the death potentially, but they are very low on health, very low on morale. In comes the Wavering status. They're not going to have much of a chance. The Phoenix Guard off in the distance. They come out from behind the trees, hoping to provide some support. These guys ultimately rout, unfortunately, but now the Lothern Sea Guard come back into the fight as well. Alongside this unit of Phoenix Guard, they are hoping to charge in and eliminate what is left over here. A lot of large units, so the Phoenix Guard might have some use. The Lothern Sea Guard as well, anti-large. In comes this charge over here, but ultimately that is enough, and the Lizardmen take the day. A valiant defeat for the High Elves. Now, the High Elves fought very well in this battle, giving the Lizardmen a solid challenge throughout the whole thing. The Phoenix Guard really showed their value as well, especially when given added physical resistance, and the Lothern Sea Guard showcased their ability to hold the line in a strained situation. Unfortunately, unable to dodge some key spells like Banishment, and with the inability to maintain a front line for long enough, High Elf ranged abilities were quickly shut down, and the Elves were put on the back foot more or less immediately. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep submitting your battle replays. I think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to highlight such amazing battles from the community. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.